Hello YouTube. Today I'm in Tahawus, New York. It's a ghost town, and not that long ago there were actually structures here, but obviously they were uninhabitable and falling in, and it looks to me like the state, like I missed my chance that the state has come in and hauled away the actual structure. They did leave the central fireplaces and a lot of the basement structures, but this actually was, this is what the building did look like. And 1916, Walter Edmonds, who was the author of Drums Along the Mohawk, lived here. But let me get down here a little bit, and I'm going to tell you a little more information about this place. Well, I'm going to walk along what probably would have been considered Main Street here, and again, the structures are gone. They did leave the fireplaces. Just by how bare the ground is, it looks like I missed my chance to see the wood. Looks like they did this year, and I'd been by here a number of times in the last couple of decades, but never took the 9-mile ride up off the turn. Anyway, Lazy Lodge is what this place was. The reason this is here and way up in the middle of the Adirondack Park is they discovered iron. And in 1826, so they a couple of guys formed a company, Archibald McIntyre and David Henderson, and started mining and refining iron ore up here in 1827. And they originally wanted to call the town McIntyre. Well, Sir Henderson probably didn't. But then they decided on the name Adirondack without the K at the end, like the mountains. And but it soon became known as Tahawus. So it was the Adirondack Ironworks. They were in business for about 30 years till 1857. But the trouble with trying to get the titanium oxide out of the ore just got, with their 19th century technology, was just too expensive. So, and the only structure left is this one. And let me check out a few things here. Okay, this is the McNaughton cottage, and it's famous for a couple of things. This little addition on the end, that was actually the McNaughton Bank. It was the first bank that was chartered here in the Adirondacks. And the other touch of history is that this is where Teddy Roosevelt and his family were staying and vacationing up here in the Adirondacks. He was vice president at the time when William McKinley, the president, was shot. Teddy was informed of it and that he was expected to recover. So Teddy decided to hike Mount Marcy, which is relatively close. We can't see it because of the clouds today. It's been off again, on again rain. And the anyway, he was 2 hours into the hike when one of the forest rangers rode up and to inform him that McKinley condition had turned critical. And that led to Teddy mad dash down the mountain catch a stagecoach to midnight run to get to the railroad, so you catch the train to get to Buffalo, I think it was, where McKinley was shot. And when McKinley died, Teddy became president. So this cottage was in really bad shape. Like I said, all the ones I just walked by were in terrible shape. To get an idea, here's a picture. This is what it looked like just like 17 years ago. And I missed the chance then coming up here. Then in 2005, they did a restoration. Obviously took off the old porch, and it looks to me like when they tore all that stuff down, they put a nice big parking lot in here, which is brand new, and it looks to me as though they're going to try to promote a little bit more tourism. There are some trails off of here that go up into the high peaks of the Adirondacks, and I'm going to look around, see what else I can find, and I'll share it. Well, as I said, the mine was shut down in 1857, and 20 years later, one of the men connected with the mine had been using this basically as personal playground and access to all the wilds and hunting and such. But in 1877, they started a private club up here called the Adirondack Club. And they had a clubhouse over in here, and about 21 years later, 1898, they changed the name to the Tahawus Club. And if you wonder about that name, Tahawus, it sounds Native American, but it's not traced to any language. They can't find it where it was derived from. It's said to mean cloud splitter, which is the name given to Mount Marcy. But the Teddy Roosevelt thing, that was in 1901, and in 1940 they reopened the mine. Only this time they were mining titanium oxide, the stuff that they couldn't get rid of in the iron before, which is what closed the 19th century mine down. So it's one of those things. Anyway, I'm gonna get down. There's a few more things to see here, so let me get back in the bus and we'll go down the road to the next. I'm now standing where the stamping mill was, and there's a terrace down through here level with the top of the furnace, and there would have been a trestle going across, and to protect this they put on top of the old brick, put modern brick structure to protect the chimney. And it's been
search the whole night until we find it. So it's bleeding in on.
So the biggest structure that's left is this blast furnace. And there are openings like this on 4 sides. The road is up there, and a big retaining wall, but I mean, look at the size of these rocks. That opening is a good 12 feet, narrows down somewhat, but the reason these openings are, you need the mass, this big mass, to contain the blast furnace, and these openings allowed access to the throat of the furnace. This one controlled the gates that would let the molten pig iron flow out over to that side. And let me get down here a little ways where maybe I can get a little bit better shot at this and try to explain how this all works.
Jumped off the wagon and he spread out his hands. Brace yourselves and come for your women. We will do what we please. If this is for your blood, you better hide it. 'Cause when we come cold.
So now we're just around the corner from where the arch to get in and control the valve for the melted iron was. This is the arch where it would come out and they would form pigs, which is pig iron, molten iron come out, basically iron bricks. How this worked. So on the other side where the road is, there was a stamping mill, and it was up, so they get up to the top, and that would take the ore, bring it down in from the mine, crush it really fine, and it would be loaded into the throat at the top along with charcoal. This was the 4th such furnace that they built here. It was the new one, and it was a much improved over the previous 3. On the job training, changes in technology, a lot of it coming from England, led to this design of this. Most iron smelting was done using coal. Coal is going to burn really hot. Here, not a lot of coal, none. Lots of pine trees. So they made charcoal. On the other side of town, they're back up in the woods, there's remnants of the charcoal making area. They made a lot of charcoal to feed this beast. So from the top, dumping in charcoal, dumping in iron ore. The charcoal, if you ever had a charcoal barbecue, you know charcoal gets pretty hot. I mean, you don't want to get your hand close to it. Cooking meat. Not hot enough to melt iron, or your grill would melt. So you need to introduce something else to this. You need air. If you're just burning charcoal, you got a furnace. If you're blowing on it with compressed air, now you've got a blast furnace. You ever blown up? If you're blowing on a fire, you know it gets hotter. By introducing air to this, and you can control how much air is going in. At the top of the chimney, you could control how with the draft, much like you would a wood stove, and you can control the heat within the blast furnace to get it hot enough to melt the iron. This massive amount of stone helps keep that heat in. It doesn't dissipate. I mean, once you get the stone warm, it's going to help that whole thing. Now, where's the air coming from? I mean, how are you going to compress it like that? Let me turn you around and I will show you. That water is, you might be able to see down through the trees, that's one of the branches of the Hudson River. Hudson River starts here, at least one branch of it. And this trench is where the water left this. They would divert the water from up there, and where this opening is in the rock was a sluice gate. So there's a mill pond behind it. They could open this up, and there were two big water wheels here. Matter of fact, that gear down there, that is part of the water wheel itself. And this big piece of the steel shaft, that was what it rode on. So I got to get around the other side to see what's underneath this, because that's the key to a lot of this operation. So let me walk over there and I'll show you that. So this is that sluice gate that I told you about, and you can see water down there. So they would have dammed this up across, and that ditch is basically overflow when they didn't want it running through here. And this is the key to it all, is those four massive things are pistons, and you can see the shafts coming out that would come out to the either side of the water wheel, an offset shaft, and would push those pistons, which would compress the air and push it up through a pipe up to the blast furnace, where they could control how much air was actually coming through and into the introducing that into the charcoal and controlling the heat. So this is for what, 1854 this was built. This company went out of business in 1877. So we're looking at what, 140 years thereabouts, coming up on a century and a half since this was built. It's still here. This is the most complete one, with showing the pistons and all that I have seen. Pretty cool. I'm glad I finally came up here. I sort of wish I'd come up when the buildings were still sort of here, but I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, give me a big thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button if you're here for the first time, and I will get back on the road and see what other kind of cool stuff I can find. See you later, YouTube.
Well, he jumped off the wagon and he spread out his hands. Brace yourselves and come for your women. We will do